I need to leave my husband. Words of encouragement would be very appreciated. Posting this on a throwaway because he monitors my main account. I'm emotionally exhausted. I'm extremely depressed. I'm a shell of who I used to be. I've lost myself in this shitty marriage. I logically know all of this, yet, I can't get myself to pull the trigger for good. He keeps sucking me back in. Background. I'm in my late 20s and he is 30. We have an amazing 3-year-old together. We initially separated midway through my pregnancy, only months after getting married. We then reconciled when our toddler was almost 2, roughly 1.5 years ago. We do not currently live together. I attempted to live with him again at the beginning of the reconciliation, but I had to move out for reasons I'll explain below. There is zero physical abuse, but it is emotional hell. His jealousy and insecurity destroy any sense of peace. He uses any semblance of kindness from him against me. He's reactive. He demands nearly all of my time. I'm isolated. Any time that he feels like I'm giving attention to anything that isn't him, he erupts. I'm afraid of telling my own husband that I need space, occasional time with my friends, and all of the things that give me identity outside of wife. For an example, he demands information, interrogates me, and says things like, "You never prioritize me," in response to me spending time with somebody that isn't him after several months of only seeing him. "Your friends are awful people. Who are you hanging out with? You're acting sketchy. You need to make this up to me," in response to doing an event or vacation without him a handful times a year. They want to fuck you. No, they fucking don't. You're pathetic. You're a liar. You're a whore. You're useless. There's going to be consequences if you don't. No more being nice from me. I need you to give me space tomorrow, and then gets pissed when I do exactly that and make alternative plans. When I went on a trip to a different country, he gave me hell nearly each day I was there. And the same happens with any event. He demands that I do anything with him first, or else it's ruined if we're to do that thing or go to that specific place together at a later time. He actively tries to sabotage any of my plans. I have never cheated. I have never flirted. Yet he demanded a prenatal paternity test. I gave it to him. Zero apology. My friends are not chosen based on their gender. I've known most for much longer than I've known him, whether male or female. Some for over a decade. He has met most, and at the beginning of the relationship hung out with us every time. My friends were all happy to include him. They genuinely loved him. That ended when he berated my best, male, friend and I for speaking too much during a group outing. Why did I move out? Because he kept telling me to do so. He has threatened the police if I didn't leave fast enough. He'd purposely call up his friends in front of me to berate me so that I could hear it. But then of course, once I obliged and began packing, he would break down crying and beg me to stay. Eventually, I did. I was lucky to have friends that helped me move out a second time, and they are still my roommates. But I still spend the majority of my time at his home. I'm just not giving up my housing security. He also frequently tries to coerce me into sex. Of course, given the situation, our bedroom is dead. He has threatened ending things if we didn't fix it. And he had the audacity to ask for a one-sided open relationship due to it on Mother's Day weekend. He has also threatened to use Tinder to find friends. Now, why haven't I left? Love, fear, and guilt. I do genuinely love him. When things are good, he is amazing. His good side is full of the things I look for, and I love spending time with him. He can be tremendously kind, supportive and generous. But I am also scared of the repercussions of leaving. While separated, he attempted to get CPS involved twice. Both times the case was closed because it was clearly ridiculous, but they're obliged to contact me. Yet, I have heard him call my toddler a piece of shit and frequently yells at him because this man has zero emotional regulation skills. I have never done either of those things because he's a toddler who, of course, behaves like a toddler. And I strictly believe in gentle parenting. And then there's the guilt. I hate seeing him cry, and when he begs me to stay in the marriage it hurts me. I have almost left several times. His apologies seem genuine, but the choices always repeat. And I do believe that he loves me, and just simply doesn't know how to handle his emotions. I do believe that jealousy and insecurity are normal and human. It's how he handles these feelings that make him an abuser. He's reactive, controlling, and makes me responsible for his emotions. He refuses to deal with these things because he believes that his actions are justified. I've tried everything. Months of marriage counseling. Patient discussions. Firm boundaries. Empathy. Hearing him out. Pleading. Bargaining. Opening up about my feelings. Being clear on the impact it has on me. Giving him time to make those changes. And, as I type this very sentence, he is spam calling my phone because I didn't respond to him quick enough. Something he has recently began doing frequently. Please tell me to leave. Because telling myself this isn't working. Comment. I just want you to imagine what you want your future to look like. Do you want to wake up in 20 years and realize you wasted your life with this loser, or do you want to take your well-being and happiness into your own hands? Because I asked myself the same question. And I left my marriage and have found my own happiness. Why? Because I deserve it. And so do you. I'm glad you liked it. I tried looking for a quote I read a while back that said something like better hurt 2 months than 2 years, something like this. The fact that you thought of leaving means you're so strong. Everything happens. We heal and we rise. Trust me, I'm in my 30s and I've never ever imagined I'd be where I am right now, but I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't stand for myself. I hope you have someone to talk to and that looks after you. But if you don't, never hesitate to contact me or others in this forum. Without trust and respect, love is nothing and is just a word and is empty. You need to get away, if not for your own sake then for your child's. You should leave because it will not get better and your child shouldn't have to see that. A child's adult relationships often reflect what they grew up around, so would you want this for your child? You deserve better and so does your child. Document his abuse and back up your records and recordings. It will not necessarily play out this way in the court. If you cannot do it for yourself, do it for your child. The Bridging the Gap community on Facebook is a great resource I recommend, and no, you're not alone in this. I understand you have guilt because his abuse and manipulation has made you feel bad for him. One thing to remember, he will not change. Not unless he wants to and not without intensive therapy. Since you cannot change him, you can only change yourself. Change yourself from someone who allows his manipulation to dominate you when you see him for what he is. Change yourself from being a mom who allows this in your relationship to a mom who wants to model good, loving relationships for your child. I understand how you feel because emotional abuse is easier for us to excuse than physical, but emotional abuse can do just as much psychological abuse as physical, if not more. You are already ahead of where you could be because you don't live with him. Just rip the band-aid off and file for divorce. Oh my goodness. I really hope you do find the strength because you have nothing to be guilty about. You're leaving because of his abuse, that was his choice, he had so many unwarranted chances to fix up, and he's shown that he doesn't want you, as the person you are, he only wants you if he can keep you in a cage and control you. That's not a life. I really sympathize with the fear you have of leaving, but any risk of a setback you have is better than the guaranteed, inevitable result of you staying, which is your child growing up in a hostile, tense environment instead of a safe, loving home. Also, you run the risk of showing your son, this is how a man is supposed to act with his wife, it is tolerable, the woman should put up with this. Hoping the very, very best for you, please don't take my comment as blaming you, I know it is so hard to leave sometimes. Story 2. My husband and sisters hate each other, but now we have a new baby and things are worse. I'm tired of being in the middle. My husband and I have been together going on 11 years, married for 2.5 years, and just had our first baby 6 weeks ago. There's been tension between my family and my husband pretty much from the beginning. I think some of it is social cultural differences, he's Filipino, friends' parents are auntie/uncle, and there's a general all over include everyone mentality, whereas my family is Southern American but really introverted, friends' parents are still MR and MS, and dating someone means a respectable dinner once a week and then he goes home, but mainly I think it's just major personality differences. My husband voices his opinion often, likes to talk out problems, and expresses his feelings. He also wears his heart on his sleeve. My family usually keep their mouth shut to outsiders when it comes to opinions, and believe talking out problems and expressing feelings is so dramatic. This has led to multiple instances of fighting over the years, to the point now, my husband wants them out of his and the baby's life indefinitely. Overall, my husband feels as though my sisters are frequently disrespectful towards him, whether it's the younger one being annoyed/upset whenever he's around, sometimes to the point of making a scene about him being in her home, which was really our home, technically our parents' home, or both of my sisters judging something he said or did and assuming things about him that are not true. My parents did not act the same way my sisters do, but they also never corrected or apologized for my sisters. I should say also that the younger one has never tried to have any relationship with him, but the middle one has tried here and there, probably more effort on my husband's part in my opinion, but they sometimes seemed getting along and other times not. For a little while as I was pregnant and then the first couple weeks after the baby was born, I really thought things were getting better. But in our family group chat, every time my husband said something, they took it the wrong way. Granted, I think sometimes he has poor word choice / phrasing, but even when he or I try to say that wasn't his intention to be rude or dramatic, they typically don't believe it. So, the most recent issue starts here. The middle sister was sharing our Amazon Prime, which is connected to Twitch for video game drops. Typically, my husband is the gamer, and he pays for the account, so I don't mess with the drops unless I know he doesn't play a certain game. My sister had claimed a drop, but it was also for something my husband didn't care about, but he ended up asking me if I had claimed something. When I said no, he worried if our account was hacked, but then I told him to ask my sister, which he did, and she was oddly wishy-washy before eventually saying she did. He told her it was fine, he just didn't know about it and worried about hackers, so he asked her to give him a heads up next time she claims something. She got mad and said she will just leave the account because she doesn't want to be controlled and said she was tired of his big brother attitude, so he also got pissed off and I don't remember what he said but it was also rude things back about her needing to get over herself and get her life together. Fast forward to a couple days ago, he said something in the group chat about being great at transferring our son to the bed, after my sister and I were joking about our inability to do so, and my sisters thought he was just bragging and trying to be center of attention. My younger sister said, "Good for you," and he responded with that was the first time she said something nice to him in a while and he appreciated it and hoped it was a step towards family healing. Well, both of my sisters flew off the handle in private messages to me about him being passive-aggressive and sarcastic, and the middle sister addressed him directly. So, my husband flew off the handle back and cussed my sister out calling her a delusional drug addict, she does recreational drugs, so it's not out of nowhere, and telling her to F off. Now both of my sisters are convinced he's the most dramatic narcissistic asshole and my husband is putting his foot down that he does not want my sisters in our child's life because they don't deserve it and doesn't his son growing up witnessing the animosity and disrespect, and my sisters and my mom think he is being controlling of me and trying to isolate me from them. And my mom says if we're barring my sisters from the baby then it's also barring her too. Honestly, I'm just trying to keep up with eating and sleeping and breastfeeding. I want my child to have a relationship with my family. My younger sister had a baby last year and she's been so kind to me and getting things for the baby, so I think he thinks we're getting better and we were gonna so cute things together with our babies. And I have been really close to my mom most of my life, so I can't imagine her not knowing my babies, but I want to honor and respect my husband and prioritize him. Comment. So being in the middle to try and keep the peace isn't actually being in the middle. You are choosing your family, and you are allowing them to be disrespectful to your husband who has probably done nothing wrong other than marrying you and taking you away from the family. Your husband is standing beside you while your family throws stones at him and you let them. Are you going to let them disrespect the father of your baby in front of your child? Children become wise to this behavior earlier than people realize. They are going to see their aunties and grandma bully their dad and this risks normalizing that kind of behavior, put up with being treated like shit even if it's family. You can't control your family, but you should be showing solidarity with your partner, especially if you want to stay married and don't want him to reach the end of his rope. Everyone has a limit as to how long they can sit and smile nicely while stones are being thrown at them and cutting/bruising their skin. They are being terrible to your husband. He is a lot more understanding than me because I would be telling you to handle your family from now on and go no contact. That child is yours and is alone. If you go around him on something as serious as who is allowed near your child, when shown again and again that your family doesn't respect him, you're asking for issues. Next they'll be criticizing how the baby is raised by him or even dressed, and he'll resent you for letting this happen to him and putting him in a place where he needs to be the bad guy or the doormat.